My name is Robert Smith from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. I've been involved in search and rescue for probably 12, 13 years now, I guess, ever since the first search I was ever on in Saskatchewan. We came back from that search after 3 days of working on a search that was what we felt was disorganized, what we felt was not, the resources were not there. And in particular, that was very evident with the spontaneous searchers that were coming by the busloads from Saskatoon and not being utilized. So we thought you can sit back and complain, or you can do something about it.
Searches for lost people or evidence have changed over the years. These days, searchers have to get in and out in a matter of days. To make sure the search is conducted efficiently and quickly, trained volunteers must use best practices and techniques. That includes the 4 essential phases of search and rescue: search for and find the subject, access and reach the subject, provide any medical aid the subject needs, evacuate or move the subject either by himself, with minimal support, or with the aid of a litter or other means. A trained search and rescue provider must be prepared to work in any condition for varying lengths of time. Preparing for this type of work requires the individual to have the proper equipment, clothing, and physical abilities.
A search and rescue provider does need to be in reasonable shape. They don't have to be as in shape as a triathlete by any stretch of the imagination, but they have to have a reasonable comfort level with fitness, because they will be working in the outdoors, both the urban area, rural area, wilderness. And that's very important, that they can carry a pack, go up and down the hills, down river valleys, and also when you find the potential survivor, that they can deal with that situation. So a reasonable level of fitness certainly is required. There is a physical capability where somebody has to wear a pack that would have a reasonable amount of equipment in it. We're not backpacking, we're searching, so it's a different type of equipment than you would be if you were backpacking or going on a day hike with the family. And the ability to take the pack on and off, that pack has a amount of equipment in it that's going to work for the potential survivor in evacuation management situations. And it is very important that the person's physically fit to carry it in all kinds of different types of environment, terrain, and topography that we have. There's no turning back when you get out there. All areas of public safety have to be prepared for both not only mountainous, but the prairie conditions where you have the high winds. And being able to search with that equipment on and be efficient and effective in what you're doing is also very important. So the clothing has to be usable, has to be practical. One of the things we do say is that there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. So a searcher will have, through the layered clothing technique, the capability to mix and match a wide variety of different types of clothing for the tasks they're involved in. The clothing that's either on their person or in their pack also has to be able to be used for the potential survivor. So once you find a lost missing person, that clothing also has to be able to apply to those individuals and be multiple tasked.
The more you get involved with the searching and the search organizations, the more you will go out and find different types of clothing that will work in different scenarios. You know, your rain clothing, cold weather clothing, there's all sorts of types.
My name is Cindy Hesselton, and I'm a volunteer with the Calgary Search and Rescue Association. I coordinate the training team for CalSARA as well as the rope rescue team, and I'm also trained as a search manager for our group. This is what we call a 24-hour pack, and we're supposed to be able to survive for 24 hours based on what's in our pack. So we're supposed to be able to shelter ourselves, clothe ourselves, feed ourselves, provide water with what's in our pack.
Search and rescue providers, the responders, should have in their 24-hour pack the ability to stay overnight in a containment confinement area should that be required. So that means that, of course, they have to have everything from a good compass, GPS, other navigation instruments, a map for the area.
Trained search and rescue workers must have good navigation skills so they can conduct their search efficiently, so they can direct rescuers to the correct location once a subject is found, and to prevent the searchers from losing their way.
They're also looking at, of course, having shelter building materials, their layered clothing, clothing that may be used for the potential survivor, capabilities of looking after evacuation management, patient packaging for the potential survivor, and also team equipment such as a small stove if you're in wilderness isolated areas, your food, light food sources for health and nutrition, ability to look after blood-borne pathogens, infectious contagious diseases should you come across a potential survivor as well, toilet type of items, and also that you are going to be comfortable out there. Again, we're not backpacking, we are searching, and we're working for those potential survivors. So it's a different types of tools, different types of equipment we'd have in there than you would on a backpacking trip. SAR workers should have a first aid kit as part of their 24-hour overnight pack when they're searching, whether it's urban, rural, urban interface, or of course wilderness situations. They must know how to use everything that's in that pack based on their training standard and also their limitations medically. So it's very important they feel comfortable. It's very difficult to buy a ready-made kit off a shelf, put it in your pack, take it out to the field, open it up, and then not know how to use items that are in there. So your first aid kit's based on your level of medical training and also your requirements and the standard of care and limitations within your jurisdiction.
I think one of the most educational things that I've done in search and rescue and other people have found in search and rescue is just when we're all standing around in a circle, we'll take everything out of our packs and we'll compare to each of our fellow searchers what we have in our packs, and you learn a lot. You get a lot of different ideas as to what works, what doesn't work, that kind of thing.
The initial response to a search should include the following 5 components: search and rescue dogs, trackers, hasty teams, containment and confinement teams, and aircraft. Conducting the actual search can vary each time a trained search and rescue provider is called out. There are 4 types of searches. A Type 1 is a quick, informal check of the areas the lost or missing person may most likely have gone. A Type 1 search is also known as a hasty search. The Type 2 is a fast, systematic check of large areas using sweep methods or open grids. These are efficient searches which produce the highest result for every hour of effort. A Type 3 search is a slower and much more systematic search. Here, a searcher uses very close spacing or grids. In a Type 3 search, the goal is to be thorough, not quick. A Type 4 search is often used in law enforcement evidence searches. Here, a small area is searched very thoroughly with close spacing between searchers, sometimes even on hands and knees. The physical preparation for the job is just one component of the work. Mental preparation is also crucial.
I am Gordon Hart, search manager with the Lloydminster Search and Rescue Team. You get going in a hurry. You want to get out there, and with your adrenaline, you let it take over, and that you do stupid things. So you got to learn to get it under control, and it's always nice working with someone who's been around longer and a little more experience to get you controlled and get you to control your emotions and slow down and think your process through before reacting.
When the initial response to call goes out to SAR providers, they are required to, of course, be able to leave their place of work, school, or their residence, and be able to respond to the mandated agency and in their jurisdiction. And it's very important they come with the tools and equipment they're required to provide the public safety effort for their jurisdiction and the mandated agency. It usually takes 30 minutes to an hour to get to a mobilization center or a staging area, and sometimes it can take 2 or 3 hours to get to the point last seen for that search and rescue provider SAR worker. And in that time, of course, there's all sorts of things they need to know, is what type of call are they going on, the terrain topography, the weather they're going to be involved in, what extra gear they need to take, what kind of team are they going to be, a tracking team, a Type 1 hasty team, will be a Type 2 team, or a Type 3, or it'll be a law enforcement evidence gathering search. And that really reflects on the tools they need to get the job done. As someone involved in search and rescue, you will end up working long, hard hours. You'll get cold, you'll get wet, you will be tired. Normal shifts during an operational period will be 3 to 6 hours for a search and rescue provider, but it's not uncommon to work a 10 or a 12-hour shift in the environment that you've been called out into for the potential survivor. And you need to have the attitude and philosophy to be able to work as a member of a team and keep that in focus and in mind all the time. And it's very important because you need to be aggressively searching when you're out in that environment and not concerned about yourself.
We're taught first thing as a searcher is that we can't become the problem, so we need to be understand our own needs. You know, are you overheated? Do you have the proper clothing? Are you hydrated? A lot of the things that you think would be just at top of mind, and it's so easily forgotten when you get out there. And so we're trying to learn in a critical environment, because of course as the adrenaline runs when there is going to be a real life situation, we're learning to recognize those needs in ourselves.
The search and rescue worker has to be cognizant of the fact that lost missing people do certain types of things. So similar types of people and similar types of terrain, when they do get lost, will do very similar types of activities. And it's very important that you understand lost person behavior. We profile a lost missing person, so we want to know everything we can about them. We put ourselves in the person's shoes. We'll look around and do recreate the missing person incident in the environment they're missing in, so we can understand and uncover where that person may have gone, what activities they may engage in, where they may be found. And that's very, very important. So we're just not out looking for always just those clues or the missing person. We're trying to profile them and understand everything about them as to what they would do. Hunters are different than children. Children are different than young adults. Young adults are certainly different than people who have special needs, Alzheimer's, people who are patients from institutions, and a host of others in the lost person behavior characteristics.
Some people will hide from us when we call their name. So we have to really know what kind of personality they are, and that information is given to us at the command post, because the search manager has then, you know, interviewed the family and said, okay, well, this particular person, you know, when they're being called, will run and hide instead of come to you. So all that information is given to us right at site.
There are two types of evidence, physical and incorporeal. Physical evidence, as the name suggests, consists of clues that are tangible. Incorporeal evidence is intangible, information or knowledge, such as an eyewitness report or a sound. It's important for search and rescue workers to follow the instructions of the police force of jurisdiction in handling any evidence. Logbooks documenting evidence and reports of incorporeal evidence become the property of the law enforcement agency.
I'm Robert Bodie from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. I'm a member of the Search and Rescue, one of the founding members. My job is to set up the communications, make sure that each person has a working radio with them. The radios are all numbered according to their team. I check every 15 minutes on each team to see what their progress is, just to hear them come back to me. I know I'm in radio contact with them. If I lose contact and that there's another person sent immediately out to the last call in. The logging is very important. It may not look important right at the beginning when we're doing it, but if we get into a situation where we found evidence that is in a crime scene, that all can be used in court. So when I get a message from a radio, I log what's being done at that time. So if we have to go back into court, we can say at 10:25, this evidence was found, these are the coordinates, and it just helps in the process of the law.
In the event that a search turns into an evidence search, what we require there is a complete documentation and noting of times, dates, places, and continuity of any exhibits that are seized by the searcher. This will help in preparing a case for court if the need be. And another thing that we require is any documentation as far as notes, that type of thing, logs, they also be available to us for presentation if it is at a criminal investigation. As you can imagine, the searching for lost and missing people in the province is very, very difficult given the resources that we have. In fact, we probably couldn't do it ourselves. This is why we really need the volunteers that are out there that do assist and are so keen to look for lost and missing people.
In most typical search and rescue situations, the mandated agency, example would be the police service of jurisdiction, has a responsibility to look for lost missing people, and they do that through the use of trained SAR workers, SAR providers. And so the SAR worker is technically working for the law enforcement agency, the parks agency, or a military agency under their mandate, roles, responsibility. But their duties certainly encompass search and rescue, public safety, and the liaison is very strong, and there's a good bond between the police, military, parks, and the SAR worker in assisting them in fulfilling their agreements as provided by the governments. In some search incidents, you will have convergent spontaneous volunteers show up at the search base or the search site. A lot of times those people have good, well-meaning intentions, but they're looking for the lost missing person. And what we train for is to make sure that we look for clues, because there are more clues than there are subjects, and the clue leads to the ultimate subject being sought after. That is that potential survivor, the person we're working for. In some incidents, we'll take a trained SAR provider, and we'll have them look after, on a 1:5 or 1:10 ratio, the convergent spontaneous volunteers.
When a search results in the location of the lost or missing person, ensuring their safety and returning them to the command base quickly becomes the priority. The searcher now becomes the rescuer or sometimes the recovery person. In any case, the rescue is a physically and emotionally demanding period of time.
One of the three most important things we do when a three-person hasty team finds a lost missing person or in a rescue situation is do what the three members of the team are very good at. First of all, medical assistance to the lost missing person or the rescue situation. Navigation, in other words, location. Where is this location? Have you found the lost missing person? And then communications. And those are the three things that happen in a Type 1 three-person hasty team once that individual is located: medical, navigation, and communications. First of all, they do the ABCs of wilderness first aid. It's that airway, that breathing, that circulation. That doesn't change no matter where you are in Canada. So doing those ABCs is so important for patient care. Then you're looking at, when you have a litter kit, it can take 6 to 8 persons on a litter to move them cross country in hazardous type terrain or terrain that changes quite a bit. And we don't always have available wheel litter kits. Sometimes they have to be manhandled out cross country by the 6 or 8 man litter. Running somebody out front to clear a trail, mark a trail, somebody coming up the rear with communications, maintaining comms with the command post, the search base, and of course with the law enforcement agency of the jurisdiction.
My name is Clint Panter. I'm a search manager with Big River Search and Rescue. The debrief is important. It gives closure to the searchers. The search manager is going to use that tool to extract the information from your search team. You want to do it immediately after the team comes back so that information is still going to be fresh in their minds. If they came across something that was just a little bit out of the ordinary, you know. As a search manager, you can put 2 and 2 together, and maybe from some information that they brought up and from some information that you got from some other team, all of a sudden that means something and might lead you in a little bit closer towards a success.
There's always going to be a debriefing and critique at the conclusion of a search and rescue effort. All documentations must be turned in to the mandated agencies because that's a very important part of the search management or case management system to help the police uncover lost person behavior and also continue their investigation. And the search just doesn't come to a conclusion once you find that lost missing subject. There's equipment to be brought in as well. There's the looking after of the evacuation management side, assisting other teams, possibly even getting into a technical rescue, assisting that team with evacuation management. So it's not always cut and dry. If a search and rescue team member or a search and rescue team find a deceased subject, certainly we highly recommend that critical and stress debriefing procedures be looked at, the proper care and counseling of those individuals, and that is really a must because that is the mental well-being to keep somebody in the area of public safety in search and rescue so you do not get burnout.
I've been on searches where we've recovered bodies, and it's a little unnerving when you come across something like that in the bush. It's not something that you really look forward to seeing.
Just because you find a deceased subject, a fatality, does not mean it's not a successful search. It is, because now the family has closures, they can lay somebody to rest, and you have to have the peace of mind and let that person go and bring closure so you can go on to work for the next potential survivor.
My first recovery that I did was actually on a search, and I can still remember the feeling that I got when I came across there, like, oh, can I handle this? Am I okay here? And afterwards, when we did the critical incident stress debriefing, I went away from that feeling, yeah, I'm okay with this. This is good, and I'm still here today, so I guess it was all right. Turned out okay.
I've been involved in search and rescue for over 30 years, and I think looking after myself, my family, friends, and my co-workers, our providers as practitioners is a very important thing that we do. So we help each other out. It keeps building our skills. We travel across the country helping other people out, and it gives us those rewards of seeing a job well done, personal satisfaction. And you don't do it for ego, for money. It's strictly to help other people, and that's what it's all about, is getting out there and showing a good community effort and making other people happy.
For me, it's just about being able to use my outdoor skills, help out in the community, get involved in an organization with like-minded people, and just sharing our skills within the search and rescue community.
There was 2 young boys missing from a church camp. I was requested by the RCMP to go into the helicopter. Into the helicopter I go, over to that particular area that had not yet been searched. On that particular search, we found them. I jumped out of the helicopter, and I'm shaking hands and damn near bawling my head off with 2 kids I never seen in my life. And we're helping these 2 young men into the helicopter and to freedom and safety. And it's just such a feeling, such a different feeling that you don't anticipate, and yet it's success. And that's why we're there.
We each have a different reason for becoming a trained search and rescue provider. Once we've made that commitment, we must be willing to do everything possible to conduct a thorough search, followed by a rescue or recovery. That means using the current set of accepted best practices. Following these practices ensures our safety as searchers, and it means we have done everything in our power to try to find the lost or missing person and to reunite them with their family or to provide their family with closure.